Also being joined at this point by Adam Scott Bellos, who is the CEO for Israel Innovation Fund. And Shreya Upadhyay, of course, has been reporting this and has been following this very closely. But first, let me just go across quickly to Adam Scott. Adam, how are the reactions coming in? How is Israel looking at this? How is Israel responding to this big confirmation that is coming in from the Israel top officials, ministers?
Yeah, hi. Thank you for having me once again. It's always a pleasure to be here. Everybody is rather elated in the news. This is very similar to the feeling of when the heads of Hezbollah, one after the other, were taken out, as well as the attack on the former head of Hamas's diplomatic corps in Iran. I do believe that it's quite jovial, but at the same time, I think people are wondering and asking the question, what comes next after this? And what does this mean for the remaining hostages that are still in Gaza? And what will this mean for Iran and the Houthis as well? We've been systematically working to dismantle Hamas for the last year, and that has been quite successful, in my opinion, given the time that it's taken and the methodological approach that Netanyahu and the army have decided to move with, especially given the overall success that has happened all over the region on the different fronts that Israel has been fighting. So I do think this is, it's an interesting situation that we're in, and a lot of questions. I think we're going to have a lot more questions than we do answers, if that makes sense.
That's true. That's absolutely true, particularly at this point. Shreya Upadhyay, if I can come to you, and this is important in a way because at the end of the day, let's remember, this is Israel that's claiming that Sinwar has been killed. In fact, let's look at the wordings of what Israel has said. The mass murderer Yahya Sinwar, responsible for the massacre and atrocities of October 7th, was eliminated today by the IDF. That's what Israel has claimed. And it's important, Shreya, to put this in larger perspective because Israel had the records of Yahya Sinwar, who was in Israeli jail till 2011, and he was released in 2011 as part of a prisoners exchange program. That's at least what we are understanding at this point. So they essentially had all the records of Sinwar. Shreya, would you want to speak, give us more details on this?
That's right, Sneha. You know, this is exactly why it was very, very difficult to eliminate Yahya Sinwar, because he's somebody who's been known to be operating clandestinely. He was never in the public eye much, and he was usually, you know, that was widely believed that his hideouts were tunnels in the Gaza Strip, and he never came out as much as perhaps other Hamas members. He also is believed to have not been using the modern communication devices that we all use to remain incognito most of the time, so that his whereabouts are not known. And like you earlier said, that he indeed used hostages and, you know, citizens, civilians as human shields, and, you know, hid behind them. So there have been, you know, efforts that have been made in the past to eliminate Yahya Sinwar, but those have been unsuccessful. This time around, Israel has managed to get him, somebody who was you know, the mastermind of this entire war that is now taking place, the escalation that took place between Israel and Hamas, the Hamas attack, the mastermind of that. Also, like you mentioned, the prisoner exchange that happened, he has remained for several years in Israeli prisons. Back in 2011 is when he was released. And one of the interesting things is, Sneha, the fact that his own release from the prison was negotiated by himself, along with others, of course, with Israel. So he was one of those people who represented Hamas as a negotiator when there was talks happening for prisoner exchange between Israel and Hamas. So that is the kind of hold that Yahya Sinwar had within the Hamas group, and he has risen quite quickly in the among the ranks of the Hamas terror group. He joined around in 1980s, and since then he's only seen a rise, and that is why, like I said earlier, he was somebody who was known as the natural successor after Ismail Haniyeh to lead the Hamas
Right.
group. Sneha.